Tamjen Jemba Loin Chan Tsai Loi Tendara Sanje Jomden Den Denen Dishin Sheban Da Jomba Yandan Zobe San Rigban Dan Shavson Denban Devrai Sheboy Jigden Chemboy Chewin Dilwen Kaloin Lana mebal hadai menamje demba sanje jomden dezo tijin sheba dene sonam dage jut gewen zawa nam chumi zawa seba daje rabdo jemba sonam je tere namje she beje sambo namje te sen namje medo je boy je rembo an thona medem boy me boy tebe me boy namla ngombra silje minnem boy dom namla ziwa me boy simjen tamje dem boy chanjo sem boy namje ya em pobe kansa namge Nyangyen lende be zhongjiren don zhuwa namge deben ishe podo meba boba samje micha sum nambra daba yangnyen ba kuje dayuen chokme she ba kutsong ba meba deba dage mage zug dage nyevra mage ba zug meba dadan made ba dungen dale nambra zhuwa pungbo Number and over and come number medem by Chejan number and Dubai Nam Shindo Cheboy Yonso Dunwa and Dale number and Sebol and Rova and Chua and Galwa Ishe Yonso and Zoba and Teba and Majem Badan Tadrai Jumve Sanje Jumden Ishe la neba nyangen lende ba la minne ba yanda ba nyegen tala neba simjen tamje la zikbe sa la shukba den te da ne sanje dege goi chewe yende yanda ba na em so en tambe chenen tomrange wa pardo wa tamrange wa den sambo tsedo ma de ba yonso zoba yonso Yongso Changwa Jomden de Ge Chelek Bra Songwa Yangdagwa Tongwa Nemeba Ticheba Mebra Nyevra Domba Te Tongwa La Tenye Keba Namge Susu Range Rikbra Chawa Jomden de Ge Songwen Chundulwa La Lekbra Demba Nyebra Jong Zoben Chanchun Don Dovra Cheba Mitimba Mejen Duba Dan Demba Demba Yub Chubai Jeba Wen, Tek Boy, Chimboy, Ginden, and Leg Brai Shuba, Ribrai Shuba, Tangbur, Timburai, Talmuro and Java, Viso and Jurva and Chajavi, Viso and Java, Sonam Je, Balje, Yonso, Janwa, Chimboy, Jimbe, Niso and Jur, Kundo and Jimbe, Niso and Java, Chimboy. Sanjen Chon Dayan Sojen Chon Nayan Layan Changjo Emba Danen Jobso Jen Dage Jins Jibe Sonam Jen Dolayan Pen Sanjen Dubrai Sho Sanjen Chon Dayan Sojen Chon Nayan Layan Changjo Emba Doyan Danen Jobso Dage Jinso Jibe Sonam Jen Dolayan Penjre Sanjen Dubrai Sho Sanjen Chon Sojen Chon Naim Lain Changjo and Bardo and Danen Jabzo Dage Jinso and Jebe Son Sanjen Duhambarai Sho Simjan Tamjen Dewan Dan Deven Judan Dembrain Jujen Dungan Dan Dungen Gen Judan Daurain Dunga meben dewan tamban dam mindo warin juje nyeren chadan nidan dawe tanyum chembo la nebroin juroin je simjan dam dewan dan dewen judan dembroin juje dunga dan dungel gen judan davrai Dunga meben dewan tamban dan minda wain juje nyeren chadan nidan dawe tanyum chembo la nebroin juroin je simjan damjen de Dembrain Jurgen, Dungen Dan Dungel Gen Judan, Daurain Jurgen, Dungen Meben, Dewan, Damban Dan Mindra Chadan Nit Dawan, Danyam Chembola, Nebrain Juroin Jen, Chazal Wadan, Chujin, Shaban Dan, Jesu, Iran, Kushin, so. Gyawai Jungsen Dagin Jisaban Tamjen Zobe Janjo Jembo Ngoi Sashi Puchun Jukshen Medo Jam Rirab Lingshe Nyede Jem Sanje Shindo Midem Pulwayen Drogen Namda Shinda Chubarai Shui Simje Namge Sambadan Loye Chedra Chidra Chujon Timoen Tek Bayin Chuje Korlo Korndo So
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you are well. The weather has been kind, I think. Yeah, yes. Um, it's as pleasant as it can be. Such luxury. Yeah. And then for this, I suppose there is streaming. Yes? Huh? There is? Uh-huh. So I have to watch out what I say. So, to all the viewers, I greet you, I welcome you. Many of you must be taking great efforts to attend this streaming, and so for that I very much appreciate. Yet at the same time, I hope that you are able to view this in a much more comfortable way, without falling into any of the two extremes. On one hand, thinking that this is it, you know. Yet on the other hand, not too nonchalant, so that it's just a background music, you know. So I hope you have that kind of comfort. It's possible that many of you don't have such luxuries, and so therefore for that I very much appreciate to take the time to view these streaming. It is a great technology. I completely understand that. Yet at the same time, such tools can create lots of ideas, mainly to take things for granted in terms of what is what can be experienced directly, you know. For example, there are a lot of mukbang shows. Yes, great companion, you know. But nevertheless, simply on that fact, can one really smell the food, you know? Can one really taste the food, you know? Of course, we all know that we cannot. We can only imagine, you know, depending on how good the commentary is, you know. And so therefore there is something missing, you know. And so therefore all I'm saying is that that's something to be aware, especially when it comes to I suppose attending a lecture, probably it's more or less the same. But otherwise, when it comes to practice, actual practice, then there is beauty in engaging into the practice directly from one person to another. Yeah, that's there. So I'm not saying streaming or such tools are not useful or it has faults or anything. Yet at the same time, it's important to be aware of what are the limitations. Yes. So, having said that, then I welcome all of you to participate in this great literature. The history-wise, of course, it shows that it proves time and time again how noble this land is, you know, how noble this existence is in general, and particularly to be able to spend some time and to be able to walk, to be able to breathe the same air that long ago many great practitioners have walked on, breathed in, and after great many cycles of, I don't know, time, one could say, or years, or decades and centuries, we are still able to be here, yes? And so to really be able to see what it is like. Yes, many things have changed, but nevertheless, weather has not changed, you know, and the food has not changed. It has only become more colorful. It has become. It has the one of the most fascinating thing, spice. Yes. Uh, that makes food interesting. Otherwise, we will only see it as a fuel, nothing more, But aromatics basically smell, We forget how much we eat with our nose rather than through our mouth, And so therefore, that hasn't changed, And so therefore, it's there is still this blessing of being here, Whether we call India or Bharat, in Tibetan we say Jagar, meaning something that is vast, limitless, timeless. And therefore being here, there is an immense blessing in general. No matter where we pop up from, look. Nevertheless, at some point, at this time of the era or season, we are still able to, or we still have the karma to at least visit, if not to stay. And so therefore, then it's not to say it's a perfect holiday destination in terms of it is full of, holiday destination or it's full of such attractions and this and that. But truly, we can appreciate when we sort of have this kind of afternoon when we can enjoy a simple cup of local tea that we can feel and we just let the traffic go by, and just take in what is going on across the road or next to oneself, how the usual busy day sort of works, and that there is at the same time the busyness is the same, but nevertheless it has a unique pattern. That there is immense, not just to say tolerance, but acceptance, embracing of spirituality, And so therefore, being here, yes, the current status is that it's very modern, it's very developing, yet at the same time, no matter how much of a development there is, the nation understands that spirituality is the core of one's life, And so therefore, we can come here freely. We are able to be born here. We are able to come here. We are able to live here. We are able to die here, And so therefore, such luxury is something that we will not find anywhere else. And so therefore, I really feel that if this is not blessing, then I don't know what is. Yes. So I wanted to sort of point this part out because this is something that I have been feeling ever since I came here. And no matter how much development it is taking place, that same mood, atmosphere is still here, it's still vibrant. And so, therefore, there is no other way to describe this than to say it's a noble land, Arya land, So, time and time again, great many practitioners, as I said, have been born here, lived here, and displayed their parinirvanas as well. Basically meaning the end of the cycle. And so therefore, one of the many that one can mention here is none other than the great Bodhisattva, Mahabodhisattva, Shantideva. And so therefore, we are once again here to spend some time to draw from his inspiration that it is stated very clear by himself that he is basically expressing his sort of, not to say expedition, but sort of more like his diary in a way, more of his impression of how life looks like, you know, how birth looks like, how living looks like, how aging looks like, how it is, when one inevitably falls ill, how it looks like, and then finally, when we dissolve this physical condition, how that looks like. And so therefore he has been observing. He never took on a mission to say, okay, now I understood, this is it, now let's go on a mission to put everybody on the program, you know. Instead, he just observed until some said, what on earth are you doing, you know? What is your purpose? What is the meaning of your existence? And only then, when prompted, then he respectfully sort of replied in the form of this particular literature, the way of the Bodhisattvas. And so therefore, we are just reading his observation, nothing more. And this is, I think, very important for us to understand, that we are reading his observation. It's not a command, he's not demanding anything, and so instead we are just reflecting on what he has reflected upon. And so in this way, it's not too personal. That's the best way I can put. It's not too personal. Yet at the same time, it's intimate enough that he's sharing his day-to-day experience of how life works, you know. You can hear me, right? Everywhere. Okay. Because I don't want to repeat the whole thing. Okay. Yes. So that's where we are, and so therefore, of course, maybe we can be proud of ourselves that we have come to this chapter, the 8th chapter. But it's just a figure of speech to feel. I think if we read enough, we can almost feel that what he was trying to say through these so-called chapters, that he was able to repeat over and over again of basically the nature of our life, which is, as I said yesterday, it's always changing, it's always transient, you know. Yet, sort of trying to catch our attention by saying, now we have arrived at this chapter and that chapter. For example, now it is said by many scholars that the 8th chapter and the 9th chapter are the most important chapters, you know. And so often most scholars would bypass the on the previous 7 chapters, use the previous chapters for pujas, for rituals, and then directly jump into the 8th and most importantly the 9th chapter, And that kind of says something, yes? That's kind of a reflection of most of our mood, most of how we think, yes? That we want to say, yes, 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 but what is the point, Yes, I want to get to the main focus. And so please fast forward, What is Mahamudra? What is Dhammakaya, and so on, And so therefore, it kind of shows that, through implication, yet at the same time it's not too personal. Yet, I said intimate because he's developing it, developing or displaying, expressing what we normally go through when we are in this human pattern. How we are kind of not to say frustrated, but we're on a hurry, And so therefore, to be able to arrive at this chapter, actually the previous chapters, basically, if you haven't paid enough attention, then we will really feel we are entering a very alienated zone, foreign zone. And so therefore we will feel like we need to take hold of many unknown territories, uncharted territories, and establish our right there, and so on. Yes. Whereas if we begin from the first chapter, even just as just to read the root text, if the commentary is too much, then just to read the root text has immense benefit. Not just to mention in terms of in terms of benefit, how much merit we can accumulate, how much wisdom we can accumulate. There is practical benefit in terms of why we are here, Because we say listening, Atöpa, Samba, as in contemplation or reflection, and then finally the juiciest part of all, meditation. Yes, and so therefore it's I lost my train of thought as I was saying meditation, because that's where we are all stuck, Yet at the same time, no, I lost the train of my thought. Bypass. Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah. Yeah. If you only had a few extra minutes, it will come back. No, there is no extra minutes. Yes. And so we have to power through. Yes. Yes. Thank you, but no, it's not coming. It's completely derailed. Anyway, where? Oh yes, Tosam Gomsum. That's it. Yes. So nope, it's not coming. No. Listening, listening, reflecting, and meditating. Yes. There is something there. Oh yeah. Yes. Somebody bring me a screen. Anyway, I think I was trying to, how do you say, I think the reason why I lost the train of my thought is I was trying to speak it in a form of a speech, That was the flaw. Yeah. And so therefore, if it's more freestyle, probably this wouldn't have happened. So we have learned something today. Not to be too formal. Anyway, now you or most of you understand why we are here, yes? And so therefore we can continue from there, yes? Because I think I pretty much said what needs to be said, at least from what I thought was important. And so I know that last year we have come to the 12th verse of the, well, at least I was reminded that I was at the 12th verse. And so therefore, either we can continue from there, from the 13th verse, or we can, how to say, not to be too much on a hurry and then begin from the first verse of the 8th chapter, Either way, there is no losing, there is no wastage, because the whole, I think, beauty of this literature is that it's prepared in such a way that it feels natural. It feels like a friend is talking to us rather than someone is giving a lecture. Because most of the literatures are perfect in every way, sublime in every way. But the audience has requested that, please, I need a certain direction, certain practicality, and so therefore please format it accordingly, so that I feel that I can understand something on one hand, and on the other hand, I feel that I can do something, and so therefore please be practical. And so accordingly, the Bodhisattvas abide by that. And so therefore, most of the literatures are very formal. Whereas in the case of the Bodhisattva, the way of the Bodhisattva, the Bodhicaya Avatara, is praised by so many, Bodhisattvas or scholars or literate society, that one can read it from the first chapter onwards until the 10th chapter, or one can read it randomly from any chapter and then intrigue us to learn the rest of the chapter, And so therefore there is no wrong way to start. So that's the beauty of it. So it is like that. So how should we start? The usual way is, or the most beneficial way is to read some of the root text. Because the root text now, in most cases, it is still living in the Tibetan translation, and that's the closest, and that's the most closest in terms of close to us, as well as close to the original text. Then it is very true to read that, authentic to read that. And then, of course, we have many different interpretations of it in different languages, and so therefore we can read some of that. Chanju sembe jobolan jube na liu jeban samden tembe liu nale de tara zundri jene ne yin dingen zenla sene nambra yime nyomon chewe thana ludan sene bemba nambra yingwa me jong dewe jigden panja che nambra toba yongsu tor chabe chirdan nyesola sebin jigden me bonde dewe ndada yombona keben de tara jabra cha shine rabdo dembe handong nyomon nambra jobra chejin toman shine zaja deyanan jigden chabo mele nungen drup 미다 수시 미다라 양다 잡으라 잡아요. 뒤는 체럽동도 두번 통을 요문죠. 마토노네 가면죠. 이제 양조민줄 통양 공부를 하신 세배 동안줄 semjenamla chajena 양단일라 군에도 교회 semjan지버제 타만 양연동을 tel라 sem방바지 그 sem도 되면다고 답밤에 변자시 용동 초jan지버죠. 지당 까반염준 녀버는 런던주데 까면냠버트지나 지바템베 지시자 그지 지견잔줄로 유점진에 다양주 가벤들런도 집 소소지 원고라까 멤버 매너 토워주 펜버 매너 토워주 다장 펜레 도버진 대당 하나 많이는 초행한론 로원주 토라 타도 냠단데 말랑가제 되나데 미연주는 콘도지 남식 질레 뱀반토. So I read till the 13th verse. And now we have, of course, a lot of English translations. At the moment, at least for today or at this moment, I'm not reading them. So excuse me. But you will have it in your booklets, in your pages, on your phone. And so therefore, what I read was from the first verse until the 12th, yes. And so, as I always said, Shantideva, I think the beauty of Shantideva's literature is that he never made it his literature, that is, sound too philosophical, too academic. It's not that he was trying to make a point that, hey, I am one of you, you know. But instead, it just naturally come out in such a way because what would any one of us would wish is, the most fervent wish I think that any one of us would wish for is how to reach our goal, realize our dreams in the most easiest way, you know, how to make it approachable, that is, you know. Without sounding too complicated. Yet at the same time, it is tangible, it is applicable. And so therefore, it cannot get easier than this, you know. And so that's the beauty of it, I feel, you know. We would want to keep our inspiration flowing. From time to time, there are moments of inspiration. Every one of us. We feel like now from here onwards, I will hit the gym. From here onwards, I will have a healthy lifestyle. And then I will do the right thing. I will be a good person. So those instances of inspiration does strike. But often, with age and time, we feel, or we kind of come to realize the most challenging part is how to keep this inspiration flowing. And so, in this sense, the Shantideva's way is such that it feels that someone is talking to me. Someone's not lecturing me, breathing down my neck, and instead it's constantly telling me the truth in the most as direct as it can, yet at the same time as pleasant as it can be. It cannot be more pleasant than this. And at the same time, it cannot be more direct than this. And so therefore now the main way of listening or thinking is to, as I said earlier, not to feel that this is a lecture or it's too personal, invading or intruding my privacy or something, Yet at the same time, it is so intimate that it feels, and the more you read it, the more you listen to it, the more you contemplate, and if you in fact apply it through meditation, then you feel that it's very intimate, and you don't intimate in such a way that you don't become attached to it, attached to this concept of someone called Shantideva, Even if it's a living person here and now, we will not become attached to that person. Yet at the same time, we will deeply appreciate, and we feel like we cannot do without this, And so there is such beauty. And so therefore, then he's just picking up from the chapter of diligence or joyous effort. The one chapter, one of my favorite chapters, because it keeps talking about the doing part, because we all like to do things, yes. At the end of all the ideas and theories and inspiration, we feel like I need to get my hands on something. And so therefore, the doing part, how it begins, and then how it actually happens, and then how it continues until its completion. And so that was the chapter we were on. And so therefore, basically it's saying that now, you see, very subtle, It's not to say, now the doing is done, and now we are going to start a completely different segment called meditation. That it's flowing, That the sort of like an interdependent sort of aspect of it. That one cannot arrive at the dhyana or samten or meditation or calm abiding, whichever way we prefer, without having understood some idea of, altruistic or compassionate or the nature of bodhicitta. And then from there, we have covered basically the four of what is commonly known as the part of Bodhisattva's daily practice: generosity, discipline. Etiquette is very important. I think we have mentioned that many times during its chapter of mindfulness. You see, normally discipline is conveyed as a very prominent way by saying that the paramita of discipline, the vinaya and so on. Whereas Shantideva went about it as natural as possible, by understanding how we as beginners, how we as well, not to say in an extreme way by saying ordinary, but probably beginners is the right way to put that. Without feeling that another set of, after some sense of freedom, right before you know it, again another regime, another routine, another set of I don't know, conduct, And so instead of knowing that, how to say, we feel heavy about that, We are sentimental about that, And so therefore, instead of presenting it in such a striking way, then he talks about mindfulness, how important it is to be mindful, and how important it is to be aware, respectful, And so like that, then before you know it, the paramita of ethic or conduct or morality is expressed, And then naturally, when we are eased into that, then we feel natural that just as how we appreciate a good villain in a story, not just a baddie, but thoughtful, a good joker, in that sense, then it leads us to the paramita of patience, That to say, wait, don't jump into conclusion. Let's give it some time, and see what it has to give us, And then we listen, and then as we digest and learn to digest, then we feel more and more at ease. That actually it's nice to have these jokers around, Without it, life would be so boring, And then, of course, this is just an expression, nothing else, not to take it too seriously. And so, before we know it, once again, the subject, the point that, well, not exactly a point that we have to make, but before we know it, then we have understood that, okay, the only way to appreciate and respect challenges is to have enough patience, to give it time. Yeah. And therefore, there is a reason to have longevity, For example, Vaitara. Yes? it is not just about survival, please, another minute, another day, another year, yes. Today is my bad year, and so therefore, please let me live, let me overcome this bad year, and it's not about, so therefore it's not about survival, but instead it's saying, I'm beginning to understand something, and only through this lens called human lens I can see it. Whereas if I'm born in any other realms, then it's either non-participation or full participation, and so therefore I have no time to reflect, no time to appreciate. So in this sense, then I can, while I have this precious human lens, either microscopic or telescopic, and then I can appreciate, And so therefore, it makes sense to live for another day. And so therefore, then we cover the patience, or we begin to sort of, if not in actuality, at least in theory, we can feel that this is interesting. Yes. And then all of this has to happen if we have an interest, if we have a liking towards such thing. Yes. Without it, then it feels like a duty. Yes, from time to time we say, okay, take one for the team, and you did well, and so therefore, yes, I did well, but that's about it. Whereas in this case, there is no order, there is no command. It is flowing, from the very first place. Because, well, you see, we can start from meditation or this chapter, and then talk about the 4 previous chapters, actually. Because that's, yesterday somehow that's how it happened, as I was describing, yes? That once we have this calm abiding, then we will see the truth, we will see the facts. And so therefore, generosity, discipline, patience, and so on, yes? So it's not rigid, you see, this vehicle or this wheel, Right. So, it's beautiful vehicle, yes. So, yes, beautiful vehicle. It's natural, there is no wrong way, or having said that, there is no right way, and so therefore, basically, there is no room for mistake, and that's the beauty of it, yes. And so therefore, yes, we are talking about the chapter of, or the 7th chapter, the joyous effort. So it feels very natural. It feels so natural because now I'm calm, composed, somewhat, and therefore now I can see the beauty of everything. Beauty of beauty in a way, not to say, oh, it's so colorful, it's so pristine and this and that, but in a way it makes sense. In short, it makes sense. It makes sense why, how to say, on the basis or on the platform of respecting karma, that you wash your own dishes and not leave it for someone else, in that sort of sense, really, really practical, nothing supernatural, It is common courtesy to sort of make your bed after getting up, Yet at the same time, there is no, how to say, punishment if you don't do it also. But living in a meaningful society, let's say, because we are all interdependent, yes, one way or the other. And so therefore it makes sense to at least make my end of the corner a little bit meaningful, a little bit practical. Yes, we don't have to save the world. We cannot, we never will, But at least through that courtesy, there is something. And so therefore, by seeing that, then it's not too foreign, not too supernatural. I can in fact be, whoever I think I am, whoever I am perceived to be, I can go on. Yeah. All the while knowing that actually the yesterday's me is completely dead. And today's me is just like today's weather, it's completely new and fresh, yes? But nevertheless, to upkeep that pattern, makes it easier, particularly for the beginners, or what we feel are like beginners. And so therefore, knowing all those facts one by one, it becomes so fascinating that it doesn't demand effort at the end of the day. Yes, it feels like I just want to know more and more. I wish there were more pages. I wish there were more series, more chapters. Because it's just too fascinating. Yeah. And so in that sense, in that sort of genuine sense, then the interest peak, and keeps on peaking over and over again, that it doesn't feel like effort. Yes. Yet, being realistic, to say, to accept from the chapter on the ethics or discipline that the critics or the jokers, what they say has a point, particularly because if I'm a beginner or not, we don't know. Yes. And so therefore, if I'm a beginner, then those critics may have a point. Yes. And so therefore, we can respect that, And so you see, that's how out of nowhere, we can complement and bring in the practice of discipline in a very natural way. That, how to say, okay, this is where I'm lacking or where I don't understand, and so therefore I don't feel that it's personal. Yet at the same time, it's making me reflect. I can reflect, and then to see if that is the case or not. If it is not the case, then no point worrying about it. If it is the case, then we can put some effort. So therefore, we don't have to feel that the term effort has no place. There is a place. Yeah. So, like that, the more and more we think, the more and more we listen, then, of course, the 4 previous chapters somehow makes you feel anxious. Yes, that now I need to do something. It seems to be leading me not just to listen, not just to contemplate, but I must do something. And there is a slow, either in a very obvious way or in an not so obvious way, it pushes the very being to a point where I feel like I need to do something now. Yes. And so it is good if you feel that, But then again, when we arrive at this chapter, then as he says, just like that, as we have generated joyous effort, then we, meditate or focus basically. And so it's, I don't know if it's a torture, but nevertheless, technically if we say, is there something we can do? Yes, we meditate, full stop, like a noun, yes? But at the same time, what is it that we are doing? Actually, it's not tangible, it's not physical, it's not concrete, it's not coarse, actually. And I think, well, at least for me, that's the beauty of it. Yes. So, we have time till 5:30, yes? Or how long is the session? I forget. 5:30, yes. So therefore, maybe it could be refreshing if you have 1 or 2 questions, concerning the subject. Yes?
Dear Karmapa, it's actually not a question but a request.
Yes.
That we finish this chapter on joyous effort more in detail than 2 years ago.
Okay.
Because then we had the first 4 days for the first 18 verses. Okay. And then the last day from verse 18 to 75, and that was too fast for me.
Okay. Okay. So I think I'm trying to take care of that starting from today. Yeah. Probably I covered a little bit of it already. Yeah. Yes. Please don't say Mahamudra right away.
I try to find something else. So you said, I still don't understand why listening, contemplation, and meditation called wisdoms.
Sorry?
Why we call listening, contemplation, and meditation wisdom, and why is the emptiness is the highest wisdom? I just need a little bit more about wisdom.
Okay.
Why wisdom?
Same thing. What is Mahamudra? Yes.
What is Mahamudra?
Yes. Yes. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but yet at the same time, probably it's no real disappointment. Well, so far for the last 1 hour or so, the way I was rambling, the whole point of it was to say that without alarming ourselves of the 9th chapter, thinking that, okay, but what is the 9th chapter, about? Okay, if it's what is it called in comedy? I forget the term, but there's a build-up, yes. And so therefore, if it's a case where the build-up is working, that we are intrigued, then it's good, yes. But the sort of the punchline is that actually there was no punchline in the first place. Yes. It was more about, did we pay enough attention from the very first chapter? Yeah. Did we take it for granted when we are talking about any of the previous chapters, the whole 8 chapters, or the whole, in this case, the whole 7 chapters? If you took them for granted and thought, okay, yes, that's nice, but what is between the bread, between the sandwich? I want that. Then obviously we will not get anything, nothing at all. Yeah. And probably it can leave us very disappointed. But if we have paid enough attention to the build-up, then it's possible that once we come to what is after, the learning, contemplation, meditation, as you said, the wisdom, the highest wisdom, would kind of make sense, like I didn't want to go into that direction, but nevertheless, when we say the 4th empowerment, yes, again it's a built-up, yes, but actually there was no 4th empowerment, it was really a way to make us realize what the 3 previous empowerments were. But I'm not saying this so that you can ask about what are the 4 empowerments for and what they are. Okay? I'm just using that as a metaphor. Yeah. So therefore, the beauty of preparing ourselves that way is so that then the 9th chapter doesn't become too complicated, in short, yeah, and not difficult. It becomes very easy, yeah, because there was a preparation, there was a lead-up, and the body, the mind is all poised in such a way that just as we all always wish that how I wish enlightenment was easy, in simple terms. Exactly that wish would be fulfilled if we have paid enough attention, at least even on a theoretical level. But in practice, if we have, then the wisdom chapter becomes beautiful, easy, And then, therefore, we can use such terms as reaching liberation here and now in this life, All that is possible. But to go through that, the lead-up is very, very important. And so therefore, sometimes we would feel that 8th chapter is talking about the first 7 chapters, repeated again and again. Yeah. That's it. After. Oh.
I'll speak English.
Okay.
Я хотел бы вас попросить показать предел.
Okay, so the question is, if you could show us the destiny, the destiny of enlightenment, like where is the border of enlightenment?
Oh, okay.
А то, получается, мы говорим о блюде, мы говорим о поварах, о еде, о ингредиентах, о преемственности в этом всем, да, кто готовил, какие инструменты использовал. А получается, самого блюда мы не пробуем как будто. То есть либо мы его пробуем, но только не понимаем, как мы его пробуем. То есть вот
I'm sorry, you have to... Okay.
Maybe you understood?
No, it's for the translators. Yes.
So the question is, we are talking a lot about the dish and about the cooks who were cooking this dish,
Right.
but we kind of never try the dish, never have the taste. Can you give the taste?
Okay. I hope I understood. Yes. But I think pretty much, if I'm correct, it's more or less the same as the previous question. Yes. So therefore, without the build-up of a comedy, or the humor, it's not funny. It's just not funny. And it has to be explained and explained and explained. And the more it gets explained, the more it is not funny. Yeah. And so therefore, there is something magical about not, I don't know how to say this, but somehow being drawn in, like the joyous effort. Joyous effort is talking something about saying, okay, now today is either, a religious day or a comedy session, and so therefore all rules are abandoned, And then there is a sense of, not really security, but actually there's sort of really a lack of security, And so therefore, all these previous chapters about saying how good it is to be giving, generous, how good it is to be, to be a gentleman, to be a lady, gentleman-like or lady-like, And all this built up. Just as we listen to a particular story, And so the finale is very, very interesting because of all that built up. Yes? And so at the end of it, the wisdom, the so-called wisdom, if or when should take place. In English, we have no other way of talking about it by saying if and when, if I don't say that, then it sounds weird. Wisdom takes place, maybe. That's the best, that's the closest thing I can say, is that then, well, it's still better to say if and when it takes place. Then either we will laugh, or we will cry, or we will be moved, literally and emotionally moved, because we have paid attention, we have listened, we have contemplated, we have focused, Yet at the same time, the wisdom that we talk about, of course, in reality, it can never ever be expressed or explained. All the what we say Tathagatas or Buddhas or enlightened beings, they have tried, but it just cannot be, So all they can do is like a mute or like an artist, let's say. The only tool that you have is the tool of implication, to imply. And so therefore, we can see what is not possible, but yet it is made possible in such a convincing way because of how it was built up, And therefore then we can feel, wow, now that's something, And then, I don't know, maybe we will be emotional and feel strong sense to laugh, or urge to laugh, or urge to cry, or something. Yes, but that's about it. That's why I think it is said that, often said in English, no purpose, Yeah, so then.
Dear Karmapa, thank you so much for your teachings. If you don't mind, I will keep asking about enlightenment. But a little bit in a different context, in the context of individual stream of consciousness. But as you said, it's difficult to understand. So if you don't mind, can I make this build-up stage before and give you example, and probably you will tell how close is it or how far.
Right.
Would it mind? Okay. So imagine that I'm a finger, or like my consciousness is in a finger.
Yes.
So as a finger, I can bend, I can touch something, I'm afraid of fire, I have a fingernail, and I'm aware of other objects, even touch screens, and other fingers. And I've heard that we all part of something big, but this is what I've heard, right? But I know that I have like different fingers around, some of them small, some of them have funny name like Pinky, and one, by the way, wears this beautiful diamond ring I'm very jealous of. So this is my like daily routine. So it's a finger consciousness.
Yeah, okay.
And then at some point I took refuge as a finger and I started meditating and imagined that I somehow reached this enlightenment state.
Yes.
So my question, what happens to my finger consciousness? And I have like few options.
Yeah.
And could you say which one probably the closest one? So the first option is that after I reach enlightenment, I got the idea that all our fingers, we all share the same common things, like bloodstream, cells, neurons.
Yes.
So after I don't know, came back, and when I have my, again, more or less individual stream of consciousness, I still looking at other fingers they still look at me, and the only thing is that I'm thinking, oh yeah, guys, we are the same. So it doesn't matter how different we look, let's make love, not war. We are the same, we share the same. So this is option number one. Option number two.
Okay.
So I understood now that I'm not just a finger, but I'm a part of the body.
Yeah.
And from this perspective, yeah, I can feel myself also as a finger, but I know my consciousness now is the body consciousness. Yeah, whatever I'm doing, my finger also is involved, engaged in this, right? And sometimes I take care of my finger directly, so I put it in my pocket, or I lick it, or whatever, but I kind of doing everything else that might concern my finger or not, right? And it can benefit from it. And then from this perspective, from other fingers, I'm still finger, but you understand, right? So the third option, that my consciousness is absolutely out of body. It's anywhere.
Okay.
And at some point, I can focus it on any point, and my finger can be also focused on this consciousness, right? So this is my three options,
Okay.
and probably it might be something absolutely else. Could you say which of these options is closer, if it's possible, in these terms?
None of them.
Could you then explain which one you would, in these terms? Because
Right.
yeah, I understand Buddhist terms, I understand
yeah.
it, but I can't still grasp it
Of
in
course.
like a mundane term, you know?
Oh, it's.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I know. I often find that when I'm trying to meditate, let's say, yes, most of my daily practice revolves around the Vaitara practice, actually. Yes. And so therefore the practice of Vaitara is very dear to me. I began practicing on that probably as soon as I reached the age of 12. Yeah. And I was introduced to it by one of my lay teachers, who was very dear to me, who was like a father figure to me. And I got, as the colloquial term, hooked onto it, let's say. Because and the way he was able to describe what it is like, you know, because when you're young and small, you have all kinds of ideas. You have all kinds of ideas in a way that you're free-flowing, you know. And there are no logics and rules. Yet at the same time, whatever you grew up with, you are a little bit fixated on that, you know. But wherever you are fixated on, from there you draw all kinds of inspirations and say, I don't know, about magical worlds or unique universes, flying, this, that, and so on. Yes, and if you were sort of brought up a little bit in a mechanical way, then one would think accordingly. But still, in a way that is very free-flowing, you know. And so therefore, he introduced me to this practice of Vaitara. And the one thing that I was very focused on was what is known as, some of you might know, is the meditation of the Vajra net, yeah, or the Vajra tent. It is supposed to be like a shield, a protective dome, you know, iron dome. You know? And so therefore, it is supposed to sort of protect you from it. And of course, that's the only way to talk about all, there are obstacles of the body, speech, mind, and so on and so forth. And so therefore, as a young practitioner, it is very customary to begin one's meditative practice with the Vaitara. And so therefore he was introducing me, step by step, as we would to any other students. And then from there, I think he was able to see what is intriguing me, and that's a sign of a good teacher, yes, because you have to know what is intriguing, while telling a story, what is your interest. And so in that moment it was about the so-called protective dome or shield or wheel, in that moment I had a very simple idea, about how it looks, how it works in a very mechanical way, the heart syllable, the seat of the heart syllable, it is supposed to be an eight-spoked wheel with a rim, periphery or something. That is supposed to represent peaceful activity, or something like that. And then you have also those, and in this case, the protective wheel, often it is described, it doesn't really matter how many spokes are there, but without the rim, the outer rim, And so basically it's like a porcupine, 360-degree porcupine sort of thing. And therefore, then he was trying to describe that, while the only logical term that we have is a tent, we say kur, or in Mongolian they say gir, yes. And so therefore, that kind of was to me a bit disturbing for some reason, Like any practitioners, we would have such, we feel that's not logical, that's not practical. Why? Because when I was 11, when I was arriving in India for the first time on the plane, some friends introduced me for the first time about the spherical versions of, globes, planets and stars and so on. And so therefore, to me, that was the most fascinating thing to read. Fascinating imageries to have. Because till then, yes, till that age, I was very used to thinking, as any of my contemporary at the time, living in Tibet, to think that everything is flat. It's a pizza, And then it's natural to have a plastic dome on top, or a net to keep the flies away, the great obstacles, But then, as I was introduced to that, then I was thinking, no, it doesn't make sense. It's not a pizza, And so therefore, then we started to have more and more dialogues, And that's the beauty of it, yes. You strike a conversation, yes. Does it lead to anywhere? Nowhere, But you enjoy, yes. It's part of the enjoyment for the so-called teacher, yes, to be able to converse with so-called a student, or in this case, a child, But really get involved, because from the teacher's point of view, it feels like now this student is onto something. And so therefore they feel natural to teach. It's not just a duty to teach, but they feel that now there is something I can make it worthwhile. And from the student or from that child's point of view, you also feel that there is somebody listening to me. None of these adults are listening to me. Yes, and so for the first time, one of them is listening to me. Yes, and so therefore it makes that moment enjoyable. There's a communication. And so it has nothing to do with the porcupine or the 10-spoked wheel or anything. But from there, my inspiration grew, basically, yes, about what it means to, not really to say what it means, but somehow the enjoyment of it, the enjoyment of the practice. Yes, we say the focal point is a particular syllable sometimes, or it is the idea of it, or it is the philosophy behind, and so on and so forth. But every time I meditate on the sadhana of Vaitara, my focus constantly shifts. I notice that. Because at the end of the day, what I want, or not that I want what I want, but in terms of the samadhi, or in terms of the focus, or in terms of, in this case, meditation, what I found is the luxury of having all those intricate details, In this case, whether it's the index finger or the middle finger or the thumb, it didn't matter. But it was fascinating to begin with one, To me, probably it was the 10-spoked wheel, And from there, it intrigued me endlessly, yes. And so therefore, there were times, of course, where maybe I forget to actually practice for a day or two, But nevertheless, it brings me back to it because it's fascinating. Not because it's set, not because it's concrete, it's fixed, basically. Yeah. But every aspect of it, it can be one day just a mantra, or just the noise of it, noise of the mantra. Yes, to a certain degree, I know some colloquial meaning of what the mantras mean, but nevertheless, sometimes I'm just focusing on just the melody of it, nothing more. And that's what helps me to bring my focus. And from there, it leads to everything else, just like this chapter. Starting from the 8th chapter, then it leads me to all the other chapters, Sometimes it's the visual aspect. Sometimes it's the feeling aspect. For example, when you're focusing on the bodhicitta, of course, we have a traditional way of focusing by thinking of the poor and the helpless, the sick, the downtrodden and everything, yes? It is very traditional, it is very useful, it's classic. Just like that one finger, let's say, or the index finger. But nevertheless, I can appreciate that, I can appreciate that uniqueness, that individuality, of that particular moment. But then it leads me somewhere. From there, then it leads me, And so likewise, sometimes I'm just focusing on the Vaitara as a whole, whether it is, in this case, the one that is the wisdom aspect that I'm inviting, or the wisdom aspect that I'm trying to tell myself, convince myself that it's me, doesn't matter. All I'm thinking is that form. And and her or its details. And so therefore, sometimes it's just one of the petals, that intrigues me. Yeah. Is the tip of the petal really quite sharp, or is it more round or soft? The simplest of detail. Yeah. Or sometimes it's the eyes. And just by focusing on that, as we commonly say, it brings me to my center. And then from that onwards, everything makes sense. How to say, whether it is the noise outside or the noise inside, whether it is about tomorrow's weather, or the current events, maybe a certain disturbance in their health, or it is about, the condition of certain practitioners, or some of the teachers, their health, their case of longevity, and so on. Yes, I can understand that that's happening, and it's not an hallucination. Yet at the same time, I can feel that somehow it makes sense, if it makes sense. Yeah? And so therefore, in this case, somehow the notion of whether I'm an individual or whether I'm part of something large, it just doesn't matter in that moment. And all you know that is that moment, like I said yesterday, and if we were focused enough in that moment, just like how we get angry, yes, or how we get upset, or how we feel sad, yes, in that moment, there is no feeling of whether I'm an individual or whether I'm part of a great plan, nothing else. In that moment, it is either that pure sadness or pure anger, and nothing else. Nothing else on this earth matters, We even forget to breathe. And it's the same focus, but just directed differently. Yeah. Nothing else. Okay. Cool.
So in this example, I think I did understand it, but how's it different for enlightened mind or like ordinary mind like us? Because I think I understand when you're saying that when we focus on something, we kind of can become this. But for everyone else, we still us, regardless of what we are focusing on.
Sure.
And I just wonder, so I can relate to this level, but I wonder how, in which aspects it might be different for the enlightened mind, if it's possible to explain.
I'm not trying to sort of avoid the question and not give the answer, but I think the only answer that we will ever find is that there is no answer at all. Yeah. And we often refer to that as the lion's roar or something, But the only thing we can talk about, explain, is, like I said earlier, something about how we use the impossible tools to express something, It's like leaving the chef with the most minimum ingredients and say, now let's cook something delicious, cook something delicious, And so therefore, now, in that sense, you can imply, who knows, maybe you are adding extra salt, I don't know. Or you're using soya sauce, or MSG, or I don't know. But nevertheless, the point of it is to imply that it's interesting, it's not bland or bland, and so it sounds like saying it's trickery, it's just a trick. But that's the furthest I think we can go to, I feel. Yeah. And then through that implication, then we can see that there is simply no way to explain it. Yeah. But of course, we can make that implication as beautiful as it can be. Yeah. And through the age of time, then someone comes up. For example, Shakyamuni Buddha is supposed to have said the whole truth and nothing but the truth and everything, But nevertheless, then one becomes sort of too content, or too comfortable, too laid back after some time. And so therefore, again, as we say, a second Buddha in the form of Nagarjuna and so on, they come into being by talking about the same implication, but then according to that particular era, according to that particular mentality, and then he will explain it the same thing. Nothing has changed actually, yes, but probably with more decorations, I don't know. Yeah.
And then, could you just give us just one advice how to avoid this danger then to come up with some wrong views? Because you see, if we can't explain it and we still want to find an answer, and we're trying to come up with something.
Yes, of course.
So how to avoid this?
No need to avoid. No need to avoid. That's the beauty of it. If that question is there, great, if anything, if you need to save anything, probably it's that sort of curiosity, but at the same time, there is no end goal in terms of a final destination, let's say. But if you can keep that interest piqued constantly, and to pique that interest, often the logical thing is to say, let's have more masala, more spice, more color, let's contrast the hero and the villain more and more. But that gets stale very, very fast. Instead, it's the most subtle ones, It's the ones that we don't talk about, It's the dirty dishes in the sink, the real evil. And so therefore, then but we have to sort of make, the art of making dirty dishes villainous, and talk about it leads all the way to the destruction of enlightenment, and that because sometimes they say, dental hygiene is so important, and if you take care of it, it leads to great, it leads to brain health, heart health. I'm like, no, come on, that's a little too far. Of course, we can, connect the dots by saying, okay, then the gut flow is good, therefore it's for the heart, and we can explain things, And so, in a similar way, if we can pique our interest, yes, if we have the curiosity that we feel it's not enough, I want more answers, that's not a problem at all. It's good. And of course, I said in the beginning that if you need to save it, you know. But it's not a case where we need to save it also. This curiosity will always be there. Yeah. This time round, how will I don't know, save the day? How will I save a fellow being or something, you know? Because every time is different. Yeah. It's never the same. Very similar ones, yes. Underlying similar conditions are there, yes. But it's never the same pattern. Okay. So, then probably it's better now that I read it in English, the root text. Okay, so according to this, by Alan Wallace, it begins by saying the perfection of meditation. Upon developing zeal in that way, one should stabilize the mind in meditative concentration, since a person whose mind is distracted lives between the fangs of mental sorry, my punctuation is completely haywire. Since a person whose mind is distracted lives between the fangs of mental afflictions. With bodily and mental seclusion, distraction does not arise. Therefore, upon renouncing the world, one should renounce discursive thoughts. On account of attachment and craving for gain and the like, one does not renounce the world. Thus, upon forsaking them, the wise should contemplate in this way, realizing that one who is well endowed with insight through quiescence eradicates mental afflictions. One should first seek quiescence is due to detachment toward the world and due to joy. For what impermanent person who will not see his loved ones again in thousands of births, is it appropriate to be attached to impermanent beings? Failing to see them, one does not find joy, nor does one abide in meditative concentration. Even upon seeing them, one does not become satisfied, but is tormented by strong desire, just as before. One does not perceive reality, and loses disillusionment with the cycle of existence. One is consumed by that grief, desire for the company of the beloved. Because of thinking of that person, life ever so swiftly passes in vain. Due to a transient entity, the eternal Dharma is lost. One who acts in the same manner as foolish people definitely goes to a miserable state of existence. They do not like someone who is different. What is gained from association with fools? One moment they are friends, and the next moment they are enemies. On an occasion of being pleased, they become angry. Ordinary people are difficult to gratify. When given good advice, they become angry and they turn me away from good advice. If they are not listened to, they become angry and go to a miserable state of existence. They feel envy towards a superior, competitiveness with a peer, arrogance toward one who is inferior, conceit due to praise, and anger due to reproach. When could there be any benefit from a fool? Between one fool and another, something non-virtuous is inevitable, such as glorification of one's own self, speaking ill of others, and conversation about the pleasures of the cyclic or of the cycle of existence. Yes. So, as I often said in the past, once we know the theme of it, and I repeat again, and the theme of it is that it feels as if it's some sort of a personal attack, that as the a tax collector comes, sort of thing, that's the kind of feeling, and so therefore we are forever trying to evade. And so therefore, although the tax collector is not doing this intentionally or out of personal, vendetta or something, yes, it's just doing its job, but nevertheless, when that job is done very well, it almost begins to feel it's personal, and so therefore then we feel like we want to run away, even though this is sort of natural part of either society, one could say, or it is the nature of human existence, of all the existence. This is where we can witness this as clearly as it can offer, whereas in other conditions or in existence, it's just there is no room for such thoughts at all. Either you are completely distracted, or I think that's pretty much it. You are fully distracted, yes, and there is no space in between. And so, if we can somehow remind ourselves of that or be aware of it, then Shantideva is not preaching to us, in short, and it's just particularly telling us what it is like. And actually, I thought if there was a good, really intelligent and good comedian, actually the Bodhisattva Avatara is the best material, for that comedian, because it can be presented in a form of comedy, really, so that we don't feel it's personal, and the whole point I'm repeating that part of personal is so that I hope I'm doing a good job, because I hope there is no reverse psychology in this, because it is nothing to do with that. It's really, in this case, so fitting, and it is probably the main reason why these subjects are raised in the 8th chapter, because there is no other way to talk about it, yes. Tedar dadan jenden ba dinin poman jorwase, dijan dadwa manjala, dajan dedwa minjorwe, jile tarin jorwaje, tena gawen gujiden, dichinye dwa minjorwa, tamam bazam lebaje, pome medo danzij, sheje tuenzam lanene, kunlang hunche mandojin, dipa mebar nebaje, dane nyeman gudajin, dala mambo gawashe, tenden nyemban changjuna, shiwe wodan jikba jie, tewe namba mombi, gandang ganglan chajurba, tedang tedong tongjur, dunghanyu don yushin dang, Dewen kepe chameje, chapa lenen jikwa jen deda ranjin dunjiwe, tembra jite rabdo, nyeba tane manjo chen, tradan nyemba chonde jen, nyedan trabyo tsoje, gangdan dongbe tormedo, dala meba jiwe na, tobe dagara chishiyo, dala toba jiwe na, mebe megara chishiyo, semje meba nazo, dewe jana mengo na, danda ngembe mechi go, dewe jiten samba tang. Thus, on account of one's association with someone else, one encounters adversity. I shall happily live alone with a non-afflicted mind. One should flee far from a fool. One should gratify the encountered person with pleasantries, not with the intention of intimacy, but in the manner of a kind and impartial person. Taking only what benefits Dharma, like a bee taking nectar from a flower, I shall live everywhere without acquaintance, as if I had not existed before. A mortal who thinks, I'm rich and respected and many like me, experiences fear of approaching death. Wherever the mind, infatuated by pleasures, finds enjoyment, there a thousandfold suffering arises and falls to one's share. Hence, the wise should not desire it. Fear arises from desire, yet it passes away by itself. Generate fortitude and look at it with indifference. Many who have become wealthy and many have become famous, but no one knows where they have gone with their wealth and fame. If others despise me, why should I rejoice when praised? If others praise me, why should I be despondent when reviled? If sentient beings of different dispositions have not been satisfied by the jhanas themselves, then how could they be by an ignorant person like myself? So, what is the point of attending to the world? Yes, so, okay, what did you understand so far? Sorry? Yes, it's good to be curious, yes. Sorry? Contemplation is the key. Yes, that's there. Yes. Sorry? Yes, that's it. I think the first seal. Yes. Because at the end of the day, it's of course there is no real hero or villain, of course, yes. It is describing the preparatory phase in a way, yes. This we also have to factor in, yes. Because often we get, like I said, we feel a little too personal also in this sense, you know. If you don't realize that if you want to cook something, we need a pan, you know, or we need a pot, you know, or we need some of the most basic ingredients or components, yes. Without it, to say, okay, dive straight into Mahamudra, you know, because it sounds like that when we hear certain, I don't know, Mahasiddha like Shantideva himself, yes, when we hear of their life stories, the magical aspect of it, the legendary aspect of it, then we feel that, looks like one could bypass, you know, or at least it makes us think of the idea bypass, you know. Not that there was such a thing called bypassing, you know. And so then we kind of dilute and disrespect the idea of having natural and easy enlightenment. Yeah. It's easy because we are focused, because we are more aware, more and more. As we become more and more aware, then it becomes more natural, more easy, you know, and we become more accepting of the basic preparation, particularly for us as beginners. And so therefore, it sounds like saying, you know, go to a cave or go to the jungle. I mean, when we read more and more and be an introvert, it's good to be a nerd, you know. And basically validating having become an IT or something. But of course, that's not the point. It's not literal, of course. Yes, as part of the ingredient, we have to respect that. Yes. It's not, as I said, a lecture to say, now you must get on the program, you know. It's not. He's just stating that, do you really like it, you know? Do you really like the ways of the Bodhisattva? I'm not telling you to become a Bodhisattva. I find it fascinating, that's what he's saying, yes. And so I wrote this for myself, you know. I composed this for myself, I'm thinking of this for myself. I'm not writing this for you, you know. And therefore, I'm not putting any pressure on you, yes. Yet, I didn't find in any of the aspect of acquiring the ingredients, acquiring the conditions, a real challenge like we normally thought. That's what he's saying. Yes, because normally think, my goodness, that's one thing I just cannot do. Yes, avoid relationships. You know, avoid being a friend. Avoid this, that. It felt like a challenge, yes. It felt almost to a point as if it's the wrong thing to do, yes. But then again, Shantideva comes in and says, don't judge that fast, you know. See for yourself if you're using that as an excuse. You know, it's possible, you know, because at the end of the day, I don't tell others, but to you I can say, but actually I have some sort of attachment, you know, because without it then I feel lonely. I feel that I'm an alien to this world, to this society. And so therefore, then Shantideva is saying, don't be hasty, in short, take your time. Yes, I know life is impermanent, but nevertheless, this is one case where you can, forgo or forget, or don't need to worry about the impermanence of life, In fact, it's complementary to it. If you take some time, it's really worthwhile, yes? Of course, for each of us as individuals, as each fingers, then we can tell ourselves the same thing differently, that it's good for health, In fact, it will help our relationships as family, as friends, as peers, and so on. And physically, it's also healthy. It will bring down your blood pressure and so on, whichever way. Yeah. But the point of it is basically saying it's quite all right, because at the end of the day, from the moment we were born, we were born alone, Of course, that's just a figure of speech, yes, figure of speech, If we try to validate the idea of loneliness, then it's saying, so what? Because you were born alone, only in that sense, yes. And so therefore, similarly, you will also die alone, If you think your living is lonely, your birth and death is alone, It's just oneself, nothing more. And so therefore, one problem solved, So likewise, then verse by verse, he's going along with you. And it's not trying to be a shrink, and say, tell me your past, and I will figure out for you, It's more like he's talking to himself, and then you happen to be passing along, and you found it most intriguing, and every day you wanted to go by that corner to that, what do you call a person who's talking to himself? Huh? So, yes. So, crazy person, yes, that's it. Yes, Milarepa was known as the crazy person, yes, because he said when people see him as crazy, but when he looks at the world is crazy, yes. And so therefore, yes, we are good at using logic, but then we don't want to complete the logic, at the end of the day. And so what Shantideva is saying is complete it, Then you will have something wholesome, yes. And then, if it's comedy we want, then it's humorous, It's wonderful material, It's not personal, It's intimate, yeah. Very, very close. Yeah. Right. So then, to the tongue. So, yes, so forgive me for today, for not going through verse by verse, but from tomorrow I will try to do that, yes. So today, just roughly we came all the way towards the 22nd verse. And so therefore today we will pause it here. And generous gomdi chuzu dundi chekal rawa. Tadare, ane. Dundi, chubane dumba. Oh yes, so then there is the Chenrezig meditation. So I hope you have good bladders. So therefore, I often think of myself as a camel, so I'm fine. No, I sweat a lot, and so therefore, that's how I manage, you know. So then, now we shouldn't feel foreign about suddenly switching from this to the meditation of Chenrezig. Yes? I want you to feel as natural as possible, comfortable as possible, because there is no real evil out there, and there is no real hero over here, you know. We can use those terms, we can play with those ideas, so that if our pulse is too low or something, in order to, you know, that we are, you know, the enemy of meditation says it's either we become too dull or tired, you know, lethargic and so on, or we are too excited, you know. So in the case if we are too lethargic, or if we are too dull or tired or something, then instead of having a external stimulant, you know, like caffeine or something, we can work with our ideas, you know, and so therefore then probably it's quite all right to have what is it saying? To use it sparingly, you know. So that then we feel that I'm here, Chenrezig is there, or Chenrezig is above me, and I am going to save all sentient beings, you know, just so that we feel, just so that we raise the tempo, we sort of feel energized, you know. But underlying why we say in the beginning either Om Shunyata Jana Vajra Swabhava Atma Kohang, or Om Swabhava Shuddha Sarvatama Swabhava Shuddha Ahang, you know. But in short, emptiness, I am. Emptiness, I am. Emptiness, I am, you know. Ahang, ahang, ahang. Is to sort of, we don't need, as I said earlier, too much, you know, spice, you know. Actually, it's the subtle things. It's the subtle things that becomes more meaningful. And so therefore, when we think of oneself and all sentient beings as sort of like either the table or the chair or the chariot for the Chenrezig, we can think of all the sentient beings we know and all the sentient beings we don't know as of this moment or in this life as, to begin with by saying, I am emptiness, I am, in simple terms. Maybe now I'm answering the second question of the day, you know, that if we can sort of think about, at least, the pattern of the sentient beings I know, yeah, the default pattern of them, you know. And the simplest we can put is they are intangible, they are unique, they are mysterious, they are like weather, they are transient, they are impermanent, they change, they change, they change, they change. Today they are a friend, tomorrow they are confusing, you know. And then after some time thinking that they are just confusing, out of nowhere they become my friend, you know. And so therefore, how to say, somehow hopelessness, you know. You begin to cherish your hopelessness, enshrine that hopelessness. But not to a point where it will depress us, of course. But to have extreme courage, you know, that this is the general pattern, you know. And so therefore, I won't be surprised if tomorrow they are not my friends, you know. And I will be equally not surprised if tomorrow they happen to appear as friends again, you know, as if nothing happened, nothing whatsoever happened, you know. Hello, how are you? You know. And so therefore, to somehow accept that, you know, but therefore reserving no room for, how to say, any kind of, for oneself, depression, for others, how to say, lack of trust or anything, you know. But in this case, trust that they are always changing, you know. Trust that they are in this kind of pattern, you know. As I said yesterday, deconstruct, yes, deconstruct. When you deconstruct, then it's like deconstructing a watch. I don't know how to do it, but nevertheless, I think that's also fascinating, yes. Because once you have it as a whole, it's a watch, yes. But once you deconstruct, then it's meditative, you know, because each has their role and each contributes to the other. Everything is interdependent, you know. So in that same sense, then emptiness, I am, you know. So meaning that it's not that of course, Shantideva is using our exaggeration, of course, to say, let's exchange our place, you know, as if it is possible. Yes. Like you said, how does the enlightened one see? Yes. So there is no way of talking about it. In fact, maybe there is nothing to talk about. You know, probably it's quite safe to say. But let's say that, you know, I go full on and I let my exaggeration flow completely. So in this case, what if we exchange our place, you know? Just as we said, the enlightenment cannot be explained in terms of how they see it, you know, from the enlightened perspective, same thing here. Said in a different way. It's not possible. It's not possible to change one's position and I purify your karma, you purify my karma. You know, not possible. But let's say that it's possible. You know, so it's just working with that idea so that it raises up our inspiration, and so that we have a fresh way of looking at the reality. Otherwise, all this while we are just thinking the same way, but packaging it differently every time. Either through medicine, or through economy, or through politics, or through religion, you know, but it's the same packaging, you know. without exchanging the place. So in this case, we exchange the place to say the anatma, yes, non-self, non-self. We begin to see, because okay, maybe we will think, if you do that, maybe a thunder will strike me. Let's see if it happens. And so therefore, what if we remove that and so solely say they are? It sounds very strange, but they are me in a way. They, in this case, they or emptiness, I am. They I am sort of thing. Or she I am, or he I am, or something. Sounds very strange. And so therefore, the way to I am it, let's say, is so that we go through the simplest of details, by deconstructing. Yes. And so therefore, the more we do that, maybe we can begin with the index finger first, or one individual first, someone we know. Yeah. Doesn't have to be a friend or a foe, but someone I kind of know the best, the one that I have spent the most time with, and deconstruct that, his or her pattern, one by one, one by one, one by one. And so therefore, I guess the English way of saying you own it, not you own it, you become it, you become him or you become her, And so like that, then you think of all sentient beings, with that kind of method. Then you think of all sentient beings, even though those that I don't know, at the end of the day, they have both sorrow as well as happiness, and both the sweetness and the sourness. The cause for them and the conditions for that is more or less the same, And so therefore you own, or you become them, more and more. And so therefore, regardless of our, culture or whatever, barriers there seems to be, at least, like I said yesterday, during this time, for the next 30 minutes or next 40 minutes, we will play like a child, and tell ourselves that I am them, In this case, I can, because I have, I'm not even thinking about myself. Yes. It's not that I removed myself. I'm just not focused on that. I'm focused on them, And so therefore, then either, on top of each sentient being, a Genrezik, if that's comfortable, or otherwise you yourself represent all of them, So you're one being, and on top of yourself, then the lotus seed, the moonlit disc, the Genrezik, and so therefore you are, the carrier or the seed, or whichever we would like to call it, And we meditate that, and then focus on how come that I'm able to actually see everything this way. How come I'm able to have such perspective, And it's all due to the compassionate aspect of, or one could say myself, but in this case, since we're not talking about myself, we can just simply say that's the beauty of bodhicitta. That's the beauty of kindness, But we have now condensed that into one form, one sort of target. And so where is that? It's above my head, And that's it's kind of like saying, that's what's ruling, my anger is not ruling me, my, I don't know, sorrow or my jealousy or my attachment or my avoidance is not ruling me, but instead, in this case, this quality of being able to say emptiness I am, which is none other than compassion, is the one calling the shots, sort of thing, you know. And so, if you play this, it's fresh, because we didn't play this game for a long time, or probably never played till now, you know. All this while we were playing the same old game with different packaging, again and again. And so doing this is very refreshing. And so therefore, in that way, then we focus on the meditation of Chandisik.